meeting you in your film studio in Princeton, 1970, 74, in that era. There's a bunch of us that worked for him that started out as really young guys. Stuart, Mark, and Alan I see here, and some others that I'm not even introduced to that we were friends before, but we were 20-somethings. Jim Woodward. We were 20-somethings, and you gave us all a shot to start. And there's 4 things to know about Dick in that era as we experienced them. I'm going to cover these topics in about 2.5-minute thing you gave me. Dick was cool. Yeah. He gave us all a chance to do anything we wanted to do. He invented music videos, and he taught us empathy. Now, you're going to work with somebody in Princeton. You're going to get hired by some film company that's been kicked out of New York because they couldn't pay the rent. So it's a kind of a scrambling group of people. Not Dick Roberts Film Company. Dick Roberts Film Company was absolutely cool. The first time we walked in, you knew the music. You had these great French posters on the wall. You knew all kinds of current film. And you always had music and jazz playing. And you loved to hire young guys and get them started, right? Guys and gals. We had a nice little group. So you were a cool guy to work for. We didn't always have that. And I paid them well. No, we were paid.
Dick, that's key.
If you know about movies, there was a guy, Roger Corman, who used to make the drive-in movies out in California. Oh, yeah. And there's a lot of great Hollywood directors who started with him because at his budgets, he'd hire guys out of film school and say, I'm not going to pay hardly anything, but you'll learn how to do it. That's basically what we did at your place.
I paid union wage. It was the garbage union.
Yeah, it was a particular union. But you were doing USIA films, beautiful documentaries. You had done some animation, and then I guess your friend Frank Pomerantz introduced you to Bill Ziff of Ziff Davis Publishing, who had all these magazines. They were Psychology Today, Stereo Review, Pop Photography, Car and Driver, and they wanted to do this corporate material, films not for the wider audience but for themselves. And you were doing a lot of those, and I got hired during that. There was so much going on. Stuart was already editing these things. Then I came on. Alan was later. Mark, you were in between Alan and Stuart. You were in there. So he would let us do anything. He would throw you a camera. You could learn how to shoot. You learn how to edit. I worked on a whole animation. I went off to Pennsylvania to work with Graham Place, who was an animator who had done Betty Boop and Popeye. He was now in his about 65 or 70, but he still had an animation stand.
Yeah.
And we did a stereo review using his animation. I'm producing it as a 22-year-old. So big deal stuff that you wouldn't get to do anywhere except at Dick Roberts Film Company. Tremendous. And he invented the music video. One of the things we learned, Car and Driver, we'd have to do a film. They'd go out and shoot home movies and slides of their events. Some little race, the editors would race each other. We got to make a movie out of it. You let me do one of these Car and Driver because I was interested in cars. And I remember very carefully editing 16mm film and trying to splice together and make it make sense. And well, we've got some shots of the crowd. And you came over at one point and said, no, Doug, you got to give it some texture. And that was the thing. He's got a Herbie Hancock soundtrack and he plays that and he starts cutting. And it's the birth of music video. That's it just worked. And it was emotional. And it had rhythm.
Was there.
And that's what it was about. The funny part, though, 16mm film, it's this kind of plastic substance going around in a reel. When you would start cutting that, the movie would chew up film and tear it and break it, and you would tape it back together with splicing tape. Some of the reels, after you got done cutting, was as much splicing tape as it was film. It was hilarious. I can't pay you anymore. We've got $150 worth of splicing tape in this movie already. But that's what you invented music video because we hadn't seen that kind of. At least I hadn't.
I'll take
so
the credit.
And the last thing is empathy because the documentaries that you did with people